Hey, good morning. It's Dr. Shirley. How are you today? Nice to have you with us. Happy almost 4th of July. Oh, gosh, it's been very warm up here in the Northeast and no complaints because, of course, in this area, we're prone to all kinds of snow, 5 or 6 months from now. So today, we're going to be talking about a pretty important subject. It's a subject that, creates, people can experience, some fear, along with this, and understandably so, because nobody, wants to have cancer, deal with cancer, be with cancer or any of those things, or, have our families, subject to any of that as well, too. So really what I'm learning is that about 50% of, these cancers that we are exposed to are preventable. And that's pretty exciting. So we don't know what, the cards are for us. We don't know, what's, going to be happening. We all have different things that happen in our life. And for some people, cancer, is one of them. But if we can prevent that, right? If we can just take some little changes and some minute things and, just make those shifts and learn a little bit more, right? So thank you for coming on this morning so we can learn a little bit more so we can pass that on. And hey, good morning, Gretchen. Nice to see you. Hey, Chuck, how are you? Thank you. Yes, we're having a lot of fun with this. And, for myself, I actually had some cervical cancer many years ago, and I was pregnant with my son, at the time, and I, was diagnosed with that, and it was really, obviously, very frightening. It was like a stage 3 or, whatever. And so here I am, 7-8 months pregnant and having, this cancer thing go on. And, and they told me something very interesting. They said, if you have a vaginal birth, now it had a C-section first. So normally the first child, you have a C-section, you have another C-section. They said, if you have a vaginal birth, there's a very good chance that those cancer cells can dissipate. And I was like, well, how is that going to work? But whatever, you can betcha, and I was in that labor room with my son birthing that baby. I was giving it all I had, and I did indeed, end up, having a vaginal birth with him. And then as the subsequent testing went on for the next 1 to 2 years, that cancer never did return. In the interim, I learned a lot about taking care of my cervix. I certainly went to my, my PAPs. You guys know I'm not a real big, fan of going to doctors, but even to this day, I still go get my pap smears, because of that, because there can be some, real knowledge going on there. So today we're going to explore, some of the causative factors, the different types of cancers that you may be, some different foods, some different supplements, and just some general things. So I'm a doctor of naturopathy, okay? I'm not a medical doctor, I'm not here to heal or to diagnose, but I am here to, to share with you, some natural ways of, of prevention, okay? This is not dealing with, cancers. I've had clients come to me before. I remember one lady being, wheeled down my path, and she was literally, weeks away, from, leaving this planet, and, and the daughter wanted some help. Well, that's very difficult to do. You're much better off to, take care of yourself prior so you don't have to try to deal with this naturally. It's difficult to come back from. So first of all, let's talk a little bit about, we said 50% of these cancers are going to be preventable. Most are all based on lifestyle. There's over 8.2 million deaths per year. Most all of us know someone who has, lived with some kind of, cancer or another. And what's really frightening is over the next 20 years, they expect to see a 70% increase in the amount of cancers, and just in the next 20 years. So this is really time for us to take care of ourselves, to take care of our immune system, to do some, purging and get some of these, toxins out of the body so we can have the healthiest body that we have. So good morning, Carlos. Hi, Arthur. Sharon, nice to have you with us. So there's 4 different types of cancers. There's your carcinomas, okay, and these are the ones that are going to affect your skin, your mucous membranes, glands, in your organs. There's leukemias, and those are cancers of the blood. And then there's also sarcomas, which are cancers of the muscle. You don't hear too much of that, but sometimes there can be tumors, on the muscles and connective tissues. So that's called a sarcoma. Then a lymphoma is one that affect the lymph system, and the lymph system is a very important system. It is probably one of the best things you can do, and we'll talk about that. But the lymph system parallels your cardiovascular system, so we've got all these veins and capillaries that run throughout our body. But what we also have is lymphatic tissue. So our lymphatic tissues and veins also run, and they are where our cells dump the waste, into these tissues, and then they get carried out. But if the lymph system cannot cleanse itself and it gets accumulated, that's where a lot of our cancers will start. So we're going to talk about how to cleanse the lymph system, how to move that so we don't have that garbage. It's like you taking your garbage out of your house and putting out in the garage, and you just keep putting out in the garage and keep putting out in the garage, but you never call up the garbage man and say, hey, come and get this crap, right? Okay, so you just keep stuffing it all in you. That's kind of what happens to your body and kind of what happens with your cells. So after a while, what happens, there's a putrefaction, there's a breakdown, maybe you got animals, in your garage. all these things can happen when we don't take the time to move things away from us that may be difficult for us. Now it doesn't mean your diet has to be pristine. You have to take every herb under the planet. Our body is meant to move toxins out. It is meant to regenerate on a regular basis. But when that imbalance becomes too high, that's when the sickness really starts to ensue. And we spend about $41 billion a year. It's a big, I don't know that it's a market. It's too strong. And I certainly don't want to get shut down, for saying things. But I'm not a fan of some of the American cancer societies. They had this red dress promo a number of years ago. I don't know. Well, maybe that was the American Heart Association. Maybe I'm misspeaking, but the American Heart Association had where they had this red dress and they're promoting Diet Coke, and it's kind of like, what? And even the American Cancer Society, if you go on their website, they don't talk about nutritions. They talk about therapies. They talk about a lot of medicines, and I know that medicines are super important when you're dealing with some of that. But I find the correlation of there not being any nutrition related, like there is in other countries. Okay, is very, very different. And I'm of course here from the U.S. So we've got over 3 million cancers at any time, and about a third of people will end up passing from that. And that's where a lot of the grief and the sadness comes in. The major causes are your environmental factors and your diet. So these are the ones we can control. These are the 50%. All right, the 50%, like I talked about, that is related to your lifestyle. Recent studies have shown that 40% of people only eat one fruit a day. Okay, and that's including juices. 40% of people just have one fruit a day. I don't understand this. Now, for me myself, I like fruit being served to me. I know that sounds funny, but I like cutting up when I go away and it's put in front of me. I'll eat it all day long. So now I do have a beautiful supplement that I like that has 30 different fruits in one scoop, and that goes in my protein drink every morning. My bases are covered. And as far as vegetables, only 20% never eat any vegetables at all. 20% of people don't put any vegetables in their body. Now, these are the living foods, so you can understand why our bodies have really started to break down, over time. And 80% of people do not eat high-quality grains, or do not eat, the grains that have the nuts and the seeds, and they're just maybe colored brown bread, or some kind of a Wonder Bread, or something along those lines. So really, so much to do with what's going into our body, and we have to remember that the health of our body is directly related to the cells in our body. Okay, and so everything starts at the cellular level. So our cells make up our tissues. Okay, our tissues make up our organs make up our systems, and our systems makes up our whole body. So the health of your whole body is directly related to the cells. All right, that's why I never understood completely Western medicine, when we got someone taking care of your skin and someone taking care of your heart, someone else is over here is your your GI gal, and the kidney guy and all that kind of stuff. But really, it's our whole body that functions as one. That's where the homeopathic comes from. The homeostasis comes from, meaning that we're looking at the whole body. So every single cell that you grow, and we all grow new cells every day. So right now, we are either regenerating or degenerating right now. And this has nothing to do with age. But if you have healthy cells, you're going to make more healthy cells. If your cells are weak, then you're going to have a situation, where they start, creating cells that are not so healthy, or creating cancer cells, and then your immune system cannot take care of it. So getting in good nutrition and a proper environment is really what we're going to concentrate on today, because that's those are things that you can control. And you have to think about that. If you're eating lifeless food, now what's lifeless food? Lifeless food is a hamburger helper, or macaroni and cheese in a box. Anything in a box is considered to be a lifeless food. All right, so how could you possibly think you could eat a food that came out of a box and it's somehow going to make your cells happy? They're going like, whoa, what's going on? And after a while they give up and they die. I know that's simplistically put, but that's really what ends up going on. Instead, give your body some vitamins, some good water, and some good fruits and veggies and all this kind of thing, and then they grow more. So this you can change your body. So I've said this before, where we're sitting today is going to be very different from where we sit even a year from now. So some of us will actually become younger, we'll have more energy, we'll sleep better at night, and we'll be vibrant. And some of us will end up deteriorating. We're going to get tired, and we're going to get weak, and we're going to gain weight, and we're going to have aches and pains and medicines, and we're going to go downhill. Okay, so it's not age related, it's totally related in how you're choosing to live your life, and it is a choice. Okay, I know genetics are involved, I'm not saying that they're not, but it's a choice how you choose to live your life. And on all the education in the world, and this is wonderful, but until you personally decide that you want to have a life of more health and vitality, you're going to be on the edge, man. But I'm glad you're listening, and I'm glad you're learning. If you learned just one or two things today, that would make me very, very happy. Okay, so one of the things that there can be difficult, we'll talk about some of the meats. I'm not a vegetarian, but the meat that I do eat is like a food you feel good about, from our local Wegmans. It doesn't have any antibiotics, doesn't have any hormones. But you have to know, especially if you have a weak immune system, that any kind of heavy meats can take almost a day and a half to digest. Do you know how much energy goes into that? So that's why people that have a weak immune system, or perhaps are dealing with a cancer, really want to stay away from things like that, because it takes way too much energy. And even things like pork takes hundreds of enzymes to break down. It's one of the reasons that that particular food is not really recommended, shall we say. It isn't necessarily, considered to be cancer causing, but your body has a hard time with it, okay? Your body has a hard time with milk, cow's milk. I mean, you think about it, we're drinking a cow's milk, okay? Why? They're for baby cows, so our body doesn't do, too well with that. It's the same kind of thing. They're feeding fish like corn. Did you know that? They have fish farms, and they give them corn. Like, what's the last fish that like started eating corn on the cob? It's just like, I don't know, it's just it's a little bit crazy. So you want to watch some of the foods, and we'll talk about those a little bit more. There's a lot of environmental factors involved, and in fact, of course, I'm broadcasting here from upstate New York, and Kodak is from upstate New York. And many years ago there was, probably still is, but Kodak has shrunk it down to being a teeny company from being a gigantic company that it was, back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and beyond. And there was actually, our Genesee River has tributaries that flow down, and a woman was a nanny for my kids, said that those tributaries at night would just glow. And there was a huge cancer cluster. I remember one of her daughter's families, it became good friends of mine, and all of those kids ended up being sick, and they all kind of see me with one problem or another, and they actually had to move because of the toxicity that was coming off of there. And actually my former mother-in-law died very young with pancreatic cancer. There's a cluster of pancreatic cancer around the Kodak area. So even the Love Canal, you remember that. So if you're around big industry, if you're around farming and fertilization, I remember having a family, very, very sick family. Same thing. There's like 8 of them. It was a little Amish family, beautiful family. They came and sat in the waiting room like the Von Trapp family, all going down. And each one of those kids and the parents were sick, and they lived in this little cottage and out in an apple orchard, and it was out in a rural area, and you'd think, wow, how idyllic is that? But everybody was super, super sick. And as we did a little more exploring, what do you think went on the apples? Spray, right? So they were spraying all these pesticides on. The family was sick. They also chose to move. So you have to think about your environment and where you are at, and if there's anything that you can prevent. And if you can't, that doesn't mean you have to pick up your house and go, but if there's things that you can prevent, I would, if you were around that kind of an area, I think that what I would do is I would definitely get in some milk thistle. I would take some dandelion. I would make sure that I was moving my body so I could get these toxins removed out of my body so they didn't stay in. So places like DC and Rhode Island are one of the highest places here in the U.S. and New York State, Delaware, also Connecticut, Massachusetts, New Jersey, high concentration in the east. And a lot of that is because there's more industry in the east, but the prevailing winds from west to east also push things from Chicago or Detroit over to our east coast. So you're going to see a lot higher incidences of cancer, in that particular area. I want to talk a little bit, I won't, again, get too specific, but, breast cancer is something that, women are very, very concerned about it, and rightfully so. And a lot of it, in the natural health world has been attributed, excess estrogen. And estrogen builds up within our body. Number one, because progesterone declines as we get a little older. We don't need it because the progesterone helps us to create a new baby. Helps to keep that the embryo rather, stuck to the to the uterine wall. But when we have an excess estrogen, and that can come from even xenoestrogens, like plastics and chemicals, and we have an estrogen dominance both in male and in women, that can contribute to many, many cancers. So that's why another way that the environment actually changes, changes our hormones and how they're working within our body, and we end up with this excess estrogen. Again, with the exercise, we talked about a little bit around our breast tissue. They empty directly right into our lymph nodes, and we have them under our arms and up here, the neck area, and then down in the groin area. So as we move our body, through exercise, through movement, and this is as simple as walking, as simple as gardening, or Zumba. You guys know I love my yoga. All of that stuff always moves the toxins out of the lymph, so they do not stay. A lot of women, there's been different studies done in relation to bras. I think I've talked about this before, but there's this big kind of push. no pun intended, with these, magic bras that were as tight as they can be and hard as they can be, and they really compress the lymph tissues. And there was even a period of time where women would wear bras to bed because they had, been told that it would help their breasts, when it's really, not the case at all. So we have to let our breasts be free at times. And they've also shown there's like hardly any cancers in some of these Western, or I'm sorry, say African countries, or countries where, bras are just not worn, because there's a movement that it's allowed to happen, within there. The other thing that, that goes on, is that, we have a body that's aging, so things become cumulative, okay? So if you've got high estrogen, say in your 20s and your 30s, well, there's going to be high estrogen in their 40s, and most breast cancers don't start to happen, into the 40s, into the 50s. There's some that are, earlier. I'm not an expert. I don't intend to be, but we have to know that the longer we live, the more stuff we have in our body. I mean, that just makes sense. The more that we've been exposed to over time, the more foods we've eaten with chemicals over time, the more foods we eat with diet, unless we're choosing to cleanse that out of our body, it's just going to continue and continue and to continue. So we do have control over that aspect. Okay. One of the other things that is important with the immune system is our stress. And we've talked about stress. I've got a number of videos on that. But stress, high cortisol, high adrenaline, where our body's always on the go and always on the go, and it's fighting. It's literally like just going and going. This will start to break down our immune system response. So we've got these NK cells. Those are called our natural killer cells, and those are the ones that go out and grab those cells that aren't functioning too well. And it's a great first line of defense is our immune system, of course. But when we're under too much stress, our immune system gets very compromised and very reduced. And that's why maybe around the holidays, or if you've had a particular stressful time in life, you're going to be more subject to certain dis-ease within your body. So controlling your stress as best you can through prayer, through meditation, for sitting, being, whatever that is for you, is going to have a big effect on your immune system. Now, some of these things in life are just not, we can't avoid all the things. I like to say that, we all, get a crap load of, difficult things. We've all gone through things that could make you cry. We've all had sad times. That's part of what life is. And as you get older, you learn that sometimes you get one helping, sometimes you get two, sometimes you got a year where you get 3 or 4, and things are tough. But you'll find yourself a lot more vulnerable, after going through something. Like they say that after there's been a divorce and a death, there's a lot higher incidences of certain diseases because the immune system has been just so weakened and compromised. So we'll talk about how to rectify that, but just know that, stress is a big factor. Pesticides are another thing, that we can control. You can choose whether to put the stuff on your lawn or not. You can choose that. There are organic weed and feeds. Is it that important that, you don't have a dozen dandelions on your yard? I don't know. I could care less. I don't want my animal, my family, I used to, I was a nut. I lived in a suburban neighborhood when my kids were younger, and of course everyone, there's chem lawn showing up and green lawn and true lawn, and everyone's spraying because that's the norm of the neighborhood. And, I was the yard that had the dandelions in, and, I wouldn't let my kids out. I wouldn't let my dogs out. I remember my daughter was little. She's like 5. She has this nightmare. Mommy, I dropped my water fertilizer. So maybe I just went a little too far, with some of that stuff. But, why? I don't get it. I just don't. So those are things you can think about, what's important to you, and what is not. And the sprays that you use in your house, there's so many natural sprays. I mean, there's natural, ways to get rid of bees or wasps, or natural, ways for spiders or whatever that is. You have to think twice. I remember I knew a young girl and her family had sprayed for spiders. And it was inside the house. They used some bomb thing or whatever. That young girl, she was little, like 8 or 9 years old. She ended up with irreversible damaged neurological system. I mean, she was like almost in a fetal position when they found her in the house. So again, at what cost? Is that worth having spiders? It's not for me. It just isn't. So, don't buy into like you have to kill all this and kill these germs and kill all these animals. That's just it's not a good way to go. We've got a lot higher incidence of childhood cancer, and that can break your heart. It can break your heart, and you have to think about a per pound thing. If I'm a woman, it's 125 pounds, and you're a man that's 190 pounds, and someone else weighs 300 pounds. There's a part per million that's going to affect the body. You got a little kid that's a year old, and you got him walking on some carpet, and you just sprayed some Febreze on there, and then there's some other antibacterial there, and you got the Glade plugins and that stuff spewing out of the pocket. I mean, what are the parts per million that is going into your young child or going into your pets? chips, okay? Same kind of thing. So you've got that whole thing going on. And then we also get to choose, and I'm real big on this. We get to choose what we're going to feed our kids, okay? I mean, I cannot tell you the amount of, you've heard this as kids in the store, I want it, Mommy, I want it. Too bad, who's the mother? You know, it's your responsibility to raise healthy kids. That's what you signed up for. You signed up to take care of a child, and taking care of a child is not saying, yes, it's okay to get the blue popsicles, okay? I don't know, is that a treat? Maybe, but is it an every week thing? That's a different story. You are doing your children harm when you say yes to that. There's wonderful good foods, and when you teach your good foods, and you bring in good foods, and you model that yourself, it really isn't a question. It just isn't. But I once had a client, and she's like, I don't understand. My kid won't stop eating chips. He's like 8. Okay, who's buying the chips? Who's buying the junk food? So we have to think about that. And even as grandparents, my former in-laws would, they were lovely, lovely people, but they would buy these little cheapy colored drinks that you get at Sam's or Costco or something. They're like blue and green. I'm like, no. And, and they try to get my kids to drink of that, not in a mean way, be like, oh, it's okay. You're Nana and Pop. No, it's not. My kids were like frightened. I probably scared the heck out of them. They wouldn't eat anything with any dyes or additives, but I taught them young. I taught them at the age of 5, 6, they knew how to read. They knew what to put in and knew what to put in their bodies. So here's some of the things that you can do as far as actually, taking some action. Number 1 is exercise. Nothing is going to be better for your immune system and better for prevention of any cancers and any diseases is to get your body moving. There's a reason that our country is a lot higher in so many other, diseases. Number 1, and whether it's in, heart disease, and I think we're only number 2 in obesity now, but, any kind of movement is going to move out the garbage, like I said earlier, move it out of the garage and into the trash, okay? Because the actual muscles contract. Your lymph system does not move on its own. It has to have a muscle contraction. This can happen during massage. It can happen during skin brushing as well too. But any kind of movement is going to allow these toxins to get out of the body. So that is a number 1 thing that you can do. Number 2 is to cleanse, okay? Cleanse your liver, cleanse your kidney. If you don't know how to do this and you want to know, just send me a message, okay? And cleansing isn't a one-time thing. You cleanse a couple times a year. Cleansing isn't fasting. Cleansing is taking some herbal products, letting your body be light for a couple of days, drinking lots of water, and allowing those toxins to get out of your body. Spring is the best time of year. Fall is another good time of year. But maybe if you've just whenever I travel, on a plane, got all kinds of junk in there. I definitely want to cleanse after I do my hair. I want to cleanse. So you want to cleanse your body at least twice a year if you want to prevent disease. You have no idea the things that have accumulated in there from the food, from the environment. You really just don't know. People are always amazed when they do a cleanser, like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe what just came out of me. You can watch my colon class. You can hold up to 20 pounds of debris in your colon, and most of that is all waste. And it overloads our liver and makes us fat. Not good. And the other thing that we can do is to keep our home environmentally clean. You don't need all of these high, I don't even know what to call them, these perfumed, pina colada counter spray and strawberry Windex and all of this stuff, and they don't have to put their labels on there. If you look at jars of this, it doesn't say anything. They lobbied years ago so they didn't have to put ingredients on your cleaning stuff. There's definitely essential oils that you can use. I know my cousin Cindy's on here a lot. She makes essential oils for cleanings. You can use all kinds of natural products, and a lot of them are available like at Trader Joe's and at Whole Foods. And I hear a lot of people say like, oh, well, I don't have a good grocery store. Well, you know what? Whole Foods is on Amazon. Okay, so order Whole Foods on Amazon. It's at your house in 2 days, and then you've got your good stuff. All right, so there's really no reason to not to do this. So I would encourage you that the next time that you run out of, say, your crappy laundry detergent, that you buy some good stuff. Because if you're washing your clothes and anything that's a commercial name brand stuff, there are chemicals in there that sit on your clothes, that go into your body, that stress out your liver and make a mess inside. So you want to get a good laundry detergent because your body's on this stuff. It's on your sheets. You sleep there 7, 8, 9 hours a night. You got these sheets that are washing commercial laundry stuff soaking into your body, soaking into your clothes, soaking into your kids. Again, not good. And we talked about the immune system. I'm going to talk about some of the foods, that are helpful along there as well, too. One of the biggest things you want to avoid is processed foods. I'm talking about your bolognas and your hams and all these. They've got, nitrates in them. They've got all kinds of chemicals. They are directly linked. Those, hot dogs, okay, they're directly linked, to leukemias. And, I know it's 4th of July, so, maybe everybody wants to have a hot dog. But if you're going to have a hot dog, just go get an all beef frank that just has beef in it, okay? And you could probably buy organic hot dogs, I bet you're saying. And And yeah, they do make you ill, don't they? There's just so much. So you want to stay away from also charring your meat. They've been shown to connect with, if you're taking your chicken, you put on the grill and it's like super black and, crusty and all that. That is actually, shown to be correlated, some different cancers as well too. Even, just having, if you eat the equivalent of 4 bacon strips a day, it's been shown to increase your colon cancer by 18%. I don't know, too many people eat bacon every day, but just to get the idea, your bacon, your deli meat, if you're eating this every day, 18% increase in your colon cancers. All right. You want to keep your diet as alkaline as possible. Acid, alkaline. Acid base is foods like meat and cheese and dairy and sugar and coffee and alcohol. Did I say that already? That keeps your body in an acid base. Disease thrives in an acid base. Soda's in there too. Alkaline base are things like your fruits, your vegetables, your nuts, your seeds, your legumes. This creates an alkaline environment in your body. Disease cannot thrive in an alkaline environment. Disease thrives in an acid environment. I drink some coffee, for sure, but then, I'm having my smoothie, my vegetables, my fruits, my collagen, and all this great stuff I'm putting in my body, my super, multis, that I'm taking, and mostly, especially this time of year here in the Northeast, you just cannot, go to the farmer's market and grab some good, produce. So keeping your body as alkaline as possible, keeping your body well hydrated. The hydration is like the garbage man. Remember I just said you put everything in the garbage, you got to get it out. Well, putting the water in there is going to help to carry it out, okay? The water is the vehicle that removes the toxins from your body. Whatever you weigh, divide it in half. That's how much water you should have. You should drink on an empty stomach. Don't drink during yoga. I'm just trying to get this word out there. I see these gals drinking water during yoga. It's not a good time. Do not drink water, while you're exercising. Rehydrate yourself afterwards, because you want your body to utilize the heat, to burn and to do what it's supposed to do, within the organs. Some of the supplements, we've talked about. But all your antioxidants, as your vitamins A, your vitamin E, all of your good greens, are wonderful. There's a lot of particular, herbals that are very helpful for cancer, but I'm not talking about, treating or healing, any cancer today. I'm just talking about more of a prevention. So that's going to be most all of your live foods are really going to be the best thing. You want to avoid additives, and those are your BHTs, your colored food. We had a whole show on this where we talked about, dyes and additives. So have your food be as clean as possible. And the sugar, sugar is one of the last things. Sugar's been shown to increase tumor size, of course, because it reduces your immune system. So there you go. All of this stuff is super connected. So I hope you have yourself a great day. Sorry I missed you the last couple of days. I've been traveling, and I won't have a show on the 4th, but I'll have one on Friday, and then I'll put the schedule up for next week. We're going to be talking about allergies on Friday and postnasal drip. How exciting is that? So have yourself a wonderful day. If you're here in the U.S., happy 4th of July to you. And if you're watching from around the world, blessed day to you. Take care. Bye now.